there. They have to be in D.C. in the summer.
Right? That just feels like, that just seems like when I think of places like, so Ohio is kind of, it's not really known for humidity, right? It's just, it's a Midwest. And, but, you think of the South and like as you get down there and it gets a little bit more swampy and moist. Ooh, no. I'm good, man. Hey, cheers to Arizona, Mike.
Cheers to living in a state with diversity and climate, huh?
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome for sure. So, Michael Marquess from Mother Road Brewing, been a guest on the podcast several times.
Yeah, my mom sends you checks regularly to ensure.
She does, for sure. Yeah. Like, I thought we were even. She's like, yeah, there's a couple more coming up. But no, well, so we've talked about so many different things, highlighting, Mother Road specifically, highlighting Arizona beer in general. And when I recently saw that you were in DC, it kind of triggered to me that, that's not the first time I've seen you doing that, right? And I've always been very interested in that side of it, right? Because I get questions a lot from people like, oh, how does this impact your industry? And I'm like, I should know more. So this might be for my own knowledge,
Hey, that's a good thing. Knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely, yes.
No, we've been going out. Advocacy has been part of Mother Road's DNA since really day one.
Okay.
You can't. I hate to say this, but it's very easy for someone to make changes to an industry when they're not in that industry.
Okay.
When you look at us, there's everyone from, there's all of us brewers, there's wine, there's spirits, there's wholesalers, there's the tax man, there's all these folk that have a hand in our industry.
Yeah.
And without being part of that game and having a seat at the table, you're going to be at really their discretion of what they want to do to you.
Okay.
And I don't want to sit back and be a victim.
Yeah.
I want to be proactive.
Sure.
And you can do that by joining forces with other folks like the Brewers Association, which is kind of our national consortium, or the Craft Brewers Guild here in Arizona, where we have a bigger voice by coming together and meeting with our elected officials. Because even though I think some of them have forgotten it, they do work for us, the people.
Sure. Right.
or at least there's a few documents that allude to such a thing.
Sure. I left up to interpretation, but why has it always been important for Mother Road? Like, why has it always been a piece of what you guys do?
So our slogan's building community one pint at a time.
Yeah.
Legislation, our elected officials, everything that goes through the course, all of that is part of our community.
Yeah.
If we are not working with our legislators, we're not interacting with community. And so we have to have a seat at that table, because it's very hard for them to make decisions in D.C. where they're not seeing real people every day.
Okay.
Forgive me for saying that. I
Sure.
mean, we're real people and we show up there. But a lot of times those folk, they're dealing with very high power, very large industries, very large companies, and they forget the human nature that is behind, I'm going to speak specifically to Arizona.
Yeah.
All of us brewers here in Arizona, which
Sure.
are a lot of small families, can be very small breweries. That's important that they put a face to a name to the dollars that we're generating, whether it's the federal excise tax, whether it's the state luxury tax, all of those things that we're contributing to the community, good paying jobs, being partners with our farmers, being partners with all of the folk we interact with.
Yeah.
If they don't see that and we're not telling that story, someone else is going to tell a story.
Yeah.
Does it align with what craft brewers are doing in Arizona? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
A story from a winery may be different than craft beer. Distillers will have a different take on things.
Sure.
So it's not being combative, but we want to make sure that they understand that there's a face and families behind all these breweries.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because I feel, obviously when you think of legislation and politicians, and it's like the monsters coming out of the cloud over the mountains, but it's, things that happen aren't, in most cases, honestly, aren't from malice, right? It's not from the intent to, oh, we're going to do this so we can crush these people. It's more of kind of like there's collateral damage on all,
It's unintended consequences.
There you go. Yeah.
Several years ago, there was a big thing coming out of the federal government that wanted all of our spent grain to be dried, packaged, and put into a food grade human consumption format.
All breweries? Like this was
Yes.
up for like...
Yes, and it was miserable because if you think of any of our breweries, God, everything from cattle feed to dog treats.
Yeah.
Spent grain is like the most beautiful thing in the world. Yeah. And what it took was there's the House Small Brewers Caucus and the Senate Small Brewers Caucus. It's the largest bipartisan caucus up on Capitol Hill. Everybody likes beer, right?
Yeah.
Even politicians can forget that they have an independent or a Republican or a Democrat next to their name when they're drinking a pint of beer.
Sure. Yeah.
That caucus actually came together to help us remove that language because we couldn't have done that. There was no way we were going to meet federal guidelines for our spent grain. And think of all the good that you see spent grain doing. I mean, at Mother Road, we feed 250 head of cattle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 3 dump trucks a week go out of the brewery and a skip loader. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They're helping us because they're taking it away. It's out of the landfill. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But if that Small Brewers Caucus did not have that face to go with the name, to go with why the hell are these guys so upset about this?
Yeah.
Because they understood the issue. They understand how we're integral to local agriculture. They understand how we tie into the community.
Yeah. So like you have to kind of stand up for yourself in a way of just like being noticed, right? Of just like, hey, here's kind of here's how this impacts us. You might not have thought about it. Yeah.
But you don't want to go running to a politician right at that moment when you need their help. You want to have that long-term relationship. And I'm not talking about writing big campaign checks. There's bigger companies than all of ours that can do that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about advocacy and inviting people up north. We're in Congressional District 1. You invite Congressman O'Halloran to the brewery. You invite him a couple times, and then finally he'll say yes, and he shows up.
Yeah.
And then we get to show him what the spent grain goes to. We get to show him what a canning line is, how much aluminum we use, how tariffs impact us, looking at the families that are getting a good paycheck out of craft beer.
Yeah.
And he can take that back to D.C., talk to all the other folk in the caucus and say, yeah, this is good, and try to get more members on board.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig it. And who doesn't like the vibe at Mother Road? Like, hey, come on down to my spot. It's kind of cool, right? And then you got your at night, and it's beautifully lit. So, yeah.
But that's what's important. It's a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
So when we showed up in D.C. With the Brewers Association for the Climb the Hill, when we had his appointment on the schedule, we were just supposed to meet with his staffers. But because he had met with us, his staffer was so kind. They're like, well, he's asked if you'd meet him in the Capitol. Yeah. And with all the security, you don't get into the Capitol so much anymore. And I'm like, yes, please. And he met us in the Sam Rayburn room. And there's this beautiful photograph of all of us with this big, goofy grins because, I mean, who would have thought craft beer would land you in a little private side room in the Capitol with our congressman? And he was so excited. He was more excited to talk about the forest fires and what was happening back home than craft beer. He's a member of the caucus, and he's like, I understand your issues. We don't have to talk the business that you're here to talk about on the Hill.
Yeah.
I'm on board. I know what you guys are. And so it's that built relationship well before anything happens, because then they already know about you, so maybe that'll avoid bad legislation.
Yeah.
But if legislation comes up that could adversely impact us, they already have that relationship with us. They know who we are.
Yeah.
It's a warm, friendly smile, a handshake, a joke. Years ago, Congresswoman Kirkpatrick met with us, and she started laughing when I walked into the office because she said, "What the hell happened to you?" Because, of course, you're wearing a suit and tie. And she's like, "I hardly recognize you." And she poked fun at me the rest of the meeting because we were dressed up, in suits and ties, and we're normally in, Carhartts or cool jeans and boots and things.
Yeah. That solidifies what I was going to say is like, it's like brewers and breweries and chefs these days they're the rock stars, right? They're the people that like really. I mean, people get all really.
I'm just a nerdy kid that hides out in the back. Are you kidding?
That sounds like something a rock star would say, right? Like, I'm just in the back playing the drums, doing my thing.
No, hell no.
Nah, you're doing what you love to do, right? Like, you're doing what you really love to do.
As long as I keep having fun, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're doing great stuff. So, was this the first time you had been to DC since COVID, or had you been?
It was, and it wasn't COVID that shocked me so much. It was the January 6th impact on security.
Okay, which is explain what that is.
Minor insurrection by right-wingers. Michael Marquess opinion, not the opinion of Mother Road Brewing Company. What happened is after the Capitol was stormed, everything changed. And I remember watching it on the news. My kids saw me getting tears in my eyes. And like, "Papa, it's just a bunch of crazies." And I said, "No, it's not a bunch of crazies. This is an attack on our government."
Yeah.
Because we'd been there so many times, walking the halls freely. I mean, you'd go through the little security scan, but anyone could walk in without an appointment.
Yeah.
You could wander anywhere in the Capitol, and it really did make it feel like it was accessible to the common citizen.
Okay.
And what made me so sad is that now you have to have an appointment. A staffer has to come out. A staffer has to clear you with the security guard saying, "Party of 4 coming through for Congressman so-and-so, Senator so-and-so." And then you go through security, and they can't let you loose.
Yeah.
And that made me very sad, because years ago we did a beer tasting in one of the congressional office buildings, and they lock up at night, so it's a little hard to get out. And Alyssa and I got so stuck in there, we ended up on a sub-basement level with dead office furniture, wandering around, not able to find our way out. It was hysterical.
Sounds like the beginning of a movie.
There's actually, I think we posted a social media photo, and it looked like a horror film behind us, because it was this long hallway with very green fluorescent lights. But the point is, you could be there and have access, and that access has been removed. And I think that is a very sad thing for the American people.
Sure, yeah.
That as common citizens, we can no longer go in unless we've made very far in advance reservations, basically, to see the people that are representing us, that work for us.
Yeah.
So forgive me. That was the big. I'm sorry. I've gone on a ramble.
You're good, man.
But that was the biggest change was the security, and of course we were there during the Roe decision, which was obviously quite contentious and completely impacts half of our population.
Yeah.
And it was wild to see the protests and just see the amount of security. It's very hard for me to see that what was once very open, where we could wander in and out of the buildings freely and have that access, to be, quite frankly, taken from us because of some bad folk.
Yeah, it is. So as far as like the beer side of things, right? What was that you said? Climb the Hill? Is that
Climb the Hill? That's what the Brewers Association calls it.
Okay.
And they usually run it in concert with either a craft brewers conference or Savor, which is their big food and beer pairing event.
Gotcha. Okay.
Try to get as many of the brewers from as many states and congressional districts out there to really show that exactly who we are. Make that introduction. Make us familiar.
So was there anything specific, this like the things that you guys were working on or discussing?
The big ask this time was the United States Postal Service Equity Act, which would allow us to basically use the U.S. Postal Service to ship beer between states.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right now they can't do that.
Yeah.
And it falls to FedEx and it falls to UPS and the other carriers. The biggest part of that, it's not that anyone's going to get rich shipping beer. It's heavy, it's expensive.
Sure.
And I think in some cases, everyone's missing the point. The point is it gives access to small craft brewers that may not have access to shelf space.
Yeah.
You can only get their beer if you go to their tap room and buy it direct. This allows for them to be shipping beer through the Postal Service at hopefully a better rate than FedEx or UPS, because they're pretty expensive for heavy things.
Yeah.
and allows guests and consumers to have access to them so they can get their name out.
Yeah.
So they can be that next big breakthrough beer. And that's what's exciting to me, is to give that access out. So we'll see how it goes. Not a lot of access or action on it this year.
Okay.
But Congressman Grijalda has signed on as a co-sponsor. He's the only one in Arizona. So
gotcha.
Hopefully we'll have some others joining him.
So what does that mean exactly? Does that mean, because right now you can't, Mother Road can't ship me a case of Tower Station, right? Like
this is interstate. So this would be if you were in New Mexico.
Yeah.
We're not able to ship out of state to New Mexico.
Mother Road is not.
Mother Road is not.
You're not even allowed to get a keg of Tower Station into a tap room in New Mexico.
If we had a distributor agreement, that's different. But to mail a 6-pack or something,
right?
So
Nobody can. Can you do that in state though?
I haven't explored that honestly.
Yeah. I'm always curious about that as well.
Postal Service certainly not.
Yeah.
FedEx, we've sent a lot of yeast samples in sterile media.
Okay. All right.
But that's mostly to labs, contests, those sorts of things.
Because that would change the game for some people. Like if people could order, from across the country, order Tower Station and have it shipped to Florida, and right. But then it begs the question: do you want to do that? Right.
And at our scale right now, I'm not sure it would be worth it. Yeah. There's a certain diminishing return. I mean, even selling merch, poor Hannah at our place. If anyone out there is buying merch, I want you to know that Hannah is crushing it. And but the amount of time she spends picking the merch, pulling the merch, packing it, getting it over to the whatever shipping we're using right now, it's a big chunk of time.
Sure.
And then if you add that to beer and it's heavy, for us, it might not make as much sense.
Yeah.
And that's where that access to brewers that are up and coming is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. So it really things like this are to provide that opportunity, right? I mean, that was kind of what the Arizona Beer Bill was basically about, was to raise that ceiling and provide more opportunity for folks that want to utilize that, right? I mean, the beer bill is much bigger.
It should be open opportunity.
Sure.
For everyone. Now, if we were to choose not to mail beer, that's our choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if any of the other breweries wanted to, yes, absolutely they should.
For sure. So what is the opposition of that? Like, what is their problem with it? Just kind of old school?
Well, right now it's still very new, so there's not even a lot of co-sponsors on the bill. I think the wholesalers, they're a little worried that this might cut into their business.
Okay, yeah.
But I just don't. It's such a small part of it. I mean, how much do you pay for a bag of dog food to come from Amazon, right?
Sure. Yeah.
30-pound bag. It's kind of expensive to ship that.
Yeah.
Case of beer is about 30 pounds. You just kind of want to look at that and say, is this big? No. But if you want that really cool 6-pack of something esoteric from brewery X, Y, or Z back east, it might be worth it to pay for that, just to have it for that special occasion or to get exposure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, opportunity. Just give me the opportunity to do that, or not.
Just let us pay our excise tax and then stay out of our way, please.
Yes. Well, what is that? What is the? Because that was another thing too. You said recently was the excise tax, and what are some of the bigger things right now?
So back in 2020, and this is a big thank you to all of our congressional and Senate members, the recalibration of the excise tax was done for breweries under 60,000 barrels, which is almost all of us.
Okay.
and that dropped the excise tax from $7 a barrel to $3.50.
Wow. What is an excise tax exactly?
An excise tax, it was a tax put in on beer specifically by Abraham Lincoln and the Congress to pay for the Union Army.
Really?
Yeah, so I really hope we're doing well on that front. I hope
Well funded.
Mother Road is really wanting to earmark our excise tax for musket balls, if
Yeah.
that's okay. Maybe some uniforms, whatever. No, it was actually from the Civil War to
Yeah.
pay. Of course, it's kept going, but it's a tax on liquor because it's kind of in that sin tax. It's tobacco,
Sure.
cannabis, liquor, whatever you
Yeah.
might be. If we made bologna sandwiches, we wouldn't have to pay it.
Right.
So that goes to the federal government. And in Arizona, we have the 835 luxury tax, which is $4.96 a barrel.
Okay.
So if you can do the math between those two, there's a fair amount of tax on every 31 gallons of beer.
Yeah. How much is it? I mean, and how much can you sell that typically?
Oh, what do you mean?
Because a barrel is what, 2 kegs? 2 normal sized kegs?
Yeah.
So what is that? I mean, what percentage of your product are you paying tax on?
Oh, man.
Do you even want to think about it? All right, Michael,
I don't want to think about it.
This is supposed to be a joyous podcast.
Yeah, every quarter it's a lot. So
Yeah. So you said it was cut in half?
It was cut in half for small brewers specifically to give them that chance to go. Once you go up and over that, I believe it goes to $16 a barrel, which is pretty steep.
Oh, wow.
So you're at $3.50 on the first 60, and then you go up to 16 and onward and upward.
Wow. How? That's crazy, right? Because, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a good chunk.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, these relationships with our legislators are so important.
Yeah.
Because that bill, I think that recalibration bill was almost 5 years in the making.
Okay.
And it went through a lot of Congresses that didn't pass it. And it was temporarily approved, and then it finally, in the that big Trump business tax, that whole massive bill, it got passed in there permanently.
Okay.
Instead of being a year by year. So that was really a great win for the Brewers Association and all small brewers across the U.S.
Yeah. Nice. So what's on the forefront? Like, what is what are you guys working on?
You know what's most important when we were out in D.C. is thanking them for the recalibration.
Yeah.
We talked about U.S. Postal Service, and then basically it was like, we're fairly happy. I mean, if you want to throw a little money towards hop and malt research, we have this over here. We please do that. Continue to fund the Tax and Trade Bureau, because that's who oversees us primarily on certificate of label approval and formula approval.
Yeah.
So we want to have good response times there. But beyond that, it was basically, thank you. Yeah. We're happy. Just leave us alone.
Okay, all right. I like that though, right? Like that, because I'm sure that took work to get to that point, right? It hasn't always been.
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, you want to be grateful for the wins, and then you want to be looking to the future at potential threats.
Yeah.
We're running some pretty serious deficits. It's really easy to point the finger at tobacco and cannabis and alcohol and say, well, let's make them pay. Well, why should we pay? If we make bologna sandwiches, we don't have to pay.
Sure. Yeah,
we make widgets, we don't have to pay. So why pick on us? So pick on someone else. So we want to make sure that there's that familiarity. We've shaken the hands. We've had a pint together. So at least they understand that we're not bad folk out here making alcohol.
Yeah. The rum runners or the hills.
We're pretty nice people overall.
For the most part, for sure. Well, there was something else I was going to ask you about as well. So, I guess in general, what can a normal, a craft beer drinker, what can they do to kind of get involved or be aware of?
Boy, that's
a tough one, huh?
It's pay attention to your brewers, I think. So, we have in Arizona, there's 120 of us, more or less.
Yep.
We have all these beautiful tap rooms and spaces.
Yeah.
We invite the community in on a regular basis. Invite your politicians in. I don't care what party you are or no party. I mean, I've been independent since '92.
Yeah.
The thing is to invite them in if they can be respectful and have debates with the facts and interact with the public, we have the best spaces ever. No one hates people with a beer in their hands. You can't do it.
No.
And so to
Right.
have the politicians in there where they can discuss the topics, or have, your policy wonks or whatever. I mean, all of our breweries are fairly close to a major university or community college with very highly educated people.
Yeah.
Invite them for a night in to discuss the topics. Then we bring our guests in on top of that. They're listening to the politicians. They can make educated choices. They're listening to the policy wonks. They can make educated choices on whatever's coming before us every time we vote.
Yeah.
We have the ultimate living room. I mean, we are 120 living rooms across Arizona that are welcoming to everyone. That is huge power.
Yeah.
And we just have to exercise it well and make sure that we're welcoming to everyone as we bring them in.
Yeah. I dig it, man. I dig it. So, well, Michael, cheers, man. Thanks
Cheers.
for jumping on. I'm empty here, but
Oh, so sad. I'm not drinking fast enough.
hey, you did your job. You're the guest, so you were the guest and you did guestly duties. So, nice work.
But yeah, I'd have any of your listeners definitely check the Brewers Association,
Okay.
brewersassociation.org.
Okay.
Check on the Guild. I'm not sure we're updated on the Guild's website right now, but ask your brewers what's important. Is there anything coming up?
Yeah.
That's the best way to get involved, is just ask your brewers what's affecting you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are things. There's big things that are affected. Everybody in every aspect of life, right? But, we narrow in on this specific subject. And there's, there's a lot of shortages. And are we going to get cans? Are we going to do this? Or,
How's this year's barley harvest going to be?
Right, yeah.
How is that affected when we have, who would have thought geopolitics, that, if we can't have Russian barley, and the world can't have Russian barley, and the world can't have Ukrainian barley, which are massive producers, everyone's going to buy that barley elsewhere, which is now competing against all of us brewers.
Yeah.
It's wild. I never, I just wanted to make a little beer and sell it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Never would I have thought in a million years that global politics and war would impact, the ability to make something as simple and joyful as beer.
Yeah. Beer in a mountain town in Arizona, right?
Absolutely. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But ask your brewers.
Awesome.
Get involved with an organization and make good choices, and definitely get out and vote.
Yeah.
God's sake, there's only like 65% of us in the country, 2/3 that vote. Let's get out there, and I don't care if you agree or disagree with me, at least go out and participate.
Sure. And I think things like that, of getting people talking and in an informal format, right?
Yeah.
You kind of learn a little bit, especially when you understand at such that local level. It took me a while to get into, to really kind of understand things. And to me, that local connection as far as politics goes, it's like, okay, this is something I should probably pay attention to.
Absolutely.
So I'm on board. But well, Michael, thanks once again, man. I know that you got some fun things planned this evening before you head back up to Flagstaff. So enjoy Phoenix for the next day or so.
I am loving the sauna effect right now.
Sure. Right. We are in the back here at Simple Machine. And cheers to Simple Machine. Just won best brewery in Phoenix. Phoenix Magazine.
And based on this lager I'm drinking, very well deserved.
Yeah.
This is outstanding.
I assume that's the Blueprint lager, yeah.
So Marshall, you're not here, but we're really enjoying the back room and your beer right now.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any kegs with me, I promise.
Right. We even have it on video. Actually, the video cut off. It's perfect time. All right, Michael. Thanks, man.
Thank you.